welcome back. I have so much to update you on, so many sort of new developments in the past few days, and things are gonna be a little crazy for the next few weeks. And I knew that I wanted to share these things with you sooner rather than later, and then a couple new things happened, and I just feel like now is a really good time to share what's been going on, and there's been a lot going on. So let's backtrack a little bit. If you're new to my channel, my husband and I like to say we're originally from New York. I'm from New York. My husband is from Toronto, but we were living in the city for the past 3 years. I really wanted to get out of the city, and my husband got a great job opportunity down in Florida, down in Orlando, which was just such a fun adventure and definitely was something that we both wanted to explore. So we moved down to Orlando, and I'll share with you the first bit of news, the first bit of information, and then I will explain to you the second bit of information that kind of changes our plans a little bit. So yes, we moved down to Florida, and I really, like, in my heart of hearts, thought we were moving down here for good. Like, I thought this was going to be where, you know, we settled down, where we bought a house, where we raised our children, where our parents came to visit us. Like, for sure, I thought this was it. And at first, like, it was great, everything was going fine, and everything's still fine, but I want to say it was around like Thanksgiving last year, around November, December-ish, we both kind of were just like, we just both kind of came to the same conclusion at the same time, and that was that Florida was just not for us and wasn't actually the place that we wanted to settle down in. And there are a lot of reasons, and I won't go into them. Otherwise this video will be forever, and I apologize. I'm like such a rambler and I go off on such tangents sometimes, but I'm gonna try to stay like very focused because there's so much to tell you. So yeah, we knew around Thanksgiving that Florida wasn't the place for us, and that eventually when our lease was up, we probably were going to move back to New York. Then in January, we really decided, we were like, that's it. You know, we know that at the end of our lease, we're definitely moving back to New York, and that's like for good. And it was at the end of January that my husband got offered a few job opportunities up in New York, funny enough. And New York's just a better place for him to be anyway with his line of work. He's in the arts, and it has always made sense. He really sacrificed a lot in moving down to Orlando. And I mean, he had some great opportunities down here, but for what he wants to do and the dreams that he has, New York is the place he has to be. So when he got those job opportunities in January, and you guys know, if you've been a subscriber and a viewer of mine for a long time, that he was actually gone for about 3 months last year for work. He was gone from maybe like July to October, ish, and that was really hard. And so when he got these job opportunities in January, I knew that he had to do them and he had to go, and that unfortunately that would mean that we were living apart again for a while. And luckily he sort of had work opportunities down here in Florida, so he's been very back and forth, which is why you've seen him around, which is not why like he's just totally disappeared. But so we were doing that for a long time. We're still doing that back and forth. And yeah, just like February, March, just, you know, we kept kind of solidifying our decision to move back to New York. We kept making plans to move back. And then we sort of like a few weeks ago, I decided that we wanted to bring Elsie, our cat, up to New York sooner than like our movers were gonna come, because she's very anxious and she gets stressed out very easily. And at the time we believed that she was getting stress-induced UTI, so urinary tract infections. And cats just like adults can get urinary tract infections from stress and anxiety. And so we were kind of thinking, because she had sort of been experiencing that for the past year, or that's what we thought, we were like, you know what, let's try to avoid that. If we can bring her up early to New York and avoid the stress of her having to be here with a lot of moving boxes and movers, like that's for the better. And so that was the plan. And we just like kept kind of like trekking along. And then about a week and a half ago, she started getting what I believed was another severe UTI. And I was like, you know, last time we went, and I'm not gonna get too much into all the details with like the vet and everything, and just with like exactly what, you know, what she was going through, because again, we'll be here forever. But I thought, you know what, with stress-induced UTIs, sometimes because they're not bacterial, there's not very much you can do. You don't really want to give them antibiotics because there's no bacterial infection. And so I kind of like, you know, spent a few days just monitoring her, and then eventually, Monday, I was like, yesterday, no, Monday, it had been about a week, and I was getting really worried, and I thought, you know what, let me just take her to the vet. She hates going to the vet so much, so it was like, oh, horrible. So we went to the vet, and long story short, turns out she has 2 little stones in her bladder that are causing the blood in her urine. And so the vet said that, you know, luckily it's not a reoccurring bacterial infection, but not so luckily it's stones. And stones that form in the bladder could be made of like 2 different types of minerals. One that is dissolvable by changing diet and going on a prescription strength, you know, urinary tract formula food, and another type of stone that is not dissolvable with food and needs to be surgically removed from the bladder. And we can't tell which type Elsie has at the moment, but we're gonna put her on a prescription-based diet, and then she'll need another set of x-rays to see if the stones have dissolved. If they haven't dissolved, she'll have to get surgery. And so obviously that was a lot of information to digest just a few days ago. And because we're moving back to New York, I wanted her to get her second set of x-rays done up there, because if she needs surgery, like clearly I just want her to be, you know, around my family with a support network. And selfishly, I also want a support network, and I want my family, because going through a lot of this alone has been really, really difficult. And I know, like, I don't have kids currently, and I can only imagine that it's, you know, for me, Elsie's my baby, and Elsie is like my child, and the love I feel for her is like beyond words. And I know some people will think like, oh, she's just a cat, like, or she's just a pet. Like, how could you feel that way, or how could you relate it to a child? And I don't know, I love her so much. I love her like more than I love myself. And I tell my husband all the time, I would like throw myself in front of a bus to save her, like without thinking twice. I love her so unconditionally. And I can only imagine that like the love you have for your child is perhaps exactly that, or tenfold. So going through all this, not knowing, and then the idea of her having to go into surgery, I can't fathom. So it's been very stressful. And the reason I am sharing all this information with you is because we are going to bring Elsie up to New York in 2 weeks, or a little less now, about a week and a half. We're going to bring her up, and I'm going to stay in New York for 2 weeks, give or take. And then Jeff and I are going to come back down for another like 2.5, 3 weeks. And then we will move permanently up to New York. And the game plan, that's the game plan. It's kind of all over the place. And, for obvious reasons, I wanted to tell you, because we're going to be all over the place. We're going to be driving up to New York. We're going to be staying in New York. We're going to be driving back down, packing up this whole apartment, moving back to New York, driving back. Like, it's a lot of driving. And I didn't vlog our trip down here. I didn't vlog us driving down, but I figured maybe I would vlog one way. I mean, we're literally driving from New York to Florida three times. Oh my God. Awful. Anyway, so that's what's going on. That's kind of the gist of what's happening. I'm gonna try to film it, like, because the setup I have here in my living room, I really like it. It gives me space. It's good lighting. I have like a place for my ring light, a place for my camera. I'm gonna try to like film some backup videos so that way I have videos for when I'm in New York, and then obviously got to figure something out for when we're permanently in New York, just because the filming situation in my room is kind of all over the place. And that's another question I've been getting a lot from friends is where are you moving in New York and what's going on? And so in a nutshell, Jeff and I are moving up to my parents. We are not moving back to Manhattan. I love New York City. I love visiting it, but I cannot live there again. It's just too stressful, and I just can't handle it. It's too much. And if you've lived in New York City, if you continue to live in New York City, I'm sure you understand, you feel me. So yes, we are moving upstate with my parents, and I don't, a lot of people are like, oh, I can't believe you're moving back in with your parents. And I don't know how long we're going to be there. I really don't. But at the same time, I'm actually really looking forward to it. I love the idea of being with my parents for a little while. And Jeff's been living there anyway for the past few months while he's been traveling back and forth. And my parents are really open and receptive to it. And I love my parents. I really, really do. And, I feel like as long as there's like a respectful relationship there and a loving relationship, then I can't think of a better situation, really. They've been so kind to like open their doors to us, even though we could find another apartment. We could, go to my parents for a month and then move into a new place, which, who knows what the situation will eventually become. But to be so honest with you guys, in my heart of hearts, I want to stay with my parents. And even if we end up moving one day, I want them to come live with us. I want us to live together forever, or for as long as like they want to live with us, or as long as, everyone can stand it, because I love them. And if there's anything that I've learned as I've gotten older, it's that life is very short. It goes by very quickly. And yeah, I think the more time we can spend together, the better. And especially having lived down in Florida now, so far away from everybody, I think that it'll be such a joy to be around them. And for the past year, I've been probably the worst it's ever been. Been struggling with anxiety and not so much depression, but I feel like sometimes anxiety can kind of twist your mind into thinking it's like a little bit depressed. But a lot of anxiety, and I think I need to be surrounded by more people. I'm just not the type of person who does well on their own and like living on their own. I'm glad I did it. I would never have known had I not lived by myself. But I think at this point in time, it's healthier for me to live with my husband and my parents. And Jeff and I want to have babies, and as crazy as it sounds to like live with your parents while you're pregnant, and then subsequently when you have an infant or newborn, I love the idea of having the help. I know it takes a community, and not everyone is lucky enough to like have that support system. Some people don't want that support system, but I think for me, it'll be wonderful, and it'll help a lot, in that first, crazy new phase of life. And yeah, so I know it's not super common in Western culture to live with your parents and to live with your family. But again, I love my parents, and I'm really I think it's gonna be so fun. I really do. I think it's gonna be so fun. I think it's gonna be so fun to live with them. I think, it's like, especially after living by myself, it's like gonna be like having, live-in friends, / like roommates anyway. So I feel like that's everything. that I had to share with you, and I hope I'm not forgetting anything. But yeah, I just wanted to give you that update because things are going to get a little crazy very quickly. And yeah, that's the update. So if I think of anything else, obviously I will keep you updated in my vlogs, and yeah, just expect a lot of travel, I guess, in the next few weeks, a lot of back and forth. And then I'll keep you updated on Elsie and how she's doing and that whole situation. And that's it, guys. So if you have any questions, definitely leave them down below and I'll get to answering them. And I just love you guys. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here for me. Thank you for watching. And yeah, we'll see what these next few weeks will hold. It's going to be crazy, but it'll be fun, I guess. All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.